We are at the end of the season. We are at the Super Bowl. And, before we get into the matchup, I think there's only really one place to start. So, as the confetti fell at the end of Super Bowl 58, and my heart had been ripped out of my chest as a 49ers fan,
Oh man.
Mahomes standing on the podium waiting to accept his third Super Bowl MVP award, turned to Chris Jones and said, "We're not done. I want three. No one has ever got three." And of course, he meant three-peat. And I just felt at the start of this season that the Chiefs were on a mission to chase history and make that happen. And here we are, one game away. Mahomes, 7 years in, this is the fifth Super Bowl he's been in 6 years. He's on the verge of potentially winning his fourth Super Bowl. And I don't think we've ever seen the start to a career like this for a quarterback. And I get it. There's a lot of people out there, they've got Chiefs fatigue. And as I always sort of think in my head, dominance is boring after a while. But when we look back at this, if they can do it, we'll see. But whatever happens, when we look back at this era, I think people will appreciate just how hard and great this run has been for the Chiefs. But I want to hear your thoughts, Paul, just on where I know this is a Super Bowl involving two teams. Don't get it twisted. We're going to get to the Eagles. But what are your thoughts on this run by the Chiefs and Mahomes?
So I think that the Chiefs get a really bad press. And I don't think it's so much to do with the Chiefs. I think it's because they've piggybacked straight off the back of the Patriots era. And I think that a lot of NFL fans around the league are kind of tired of there's two or three teams who win a heck of a lot. Well, there's a reason why there's two or three teams that win a heck of a lot in the era of, the salary cap and the worst team in the league gets the first pick in the following draft. And there are, how many is it? Like, it's more than 8 teams in the NFL of the 32 have never won a Super Bowl. And
Yep.
the way that the NFL is structured, you should win a Super Bowl every 32 years, just based on the odds. So how's that working out for a lot of these teams? But back to the Chiefs, right? So it seems whatever obstacle you throw their way, like they just seem to find a way. And me and you were talking in the chat this week about these two teams have reached the Super Bowl again, and look at the management structure that they have, the coaching structure that they have, and the massive gambles that they have taken over the last few years and going back. The Kansas City Chiefs reached the playoffs 4 out of a previous 5 years and traded up with the Buffalo Bills of all teams to go and select Patrick Mahomes. They had Alex Smith. They had, as I said, they'd reached the playoffs 4 out of the 5 years, but they were not content with reaching the playoffs. They wanted to reach the promised land. And here we are. Like, I don't even think Chiefs fans, the Chiefs GM could have in his wildest dreams thought it would turn into this, that we're on the eve of the Super Bowl where they could be historically gaining a three-peat. And that's what happens when, you make a massive swing at a trade. They don't always work, But when you've got people, your Howie Roseman with the Eagles on the other side, when you've got really intelligent general managers and scouts and coaches who know what kind of player they are looking for and what structure they have, support staff and coaching staff they have to support that growth. Patrick Mahomes they traded up to go and get Patrick Mahomes, traded ahead of Deshaun Watson, who was, from memory, he was supposed to be the number one pick, number one quarterback taken in that draft. Of course, we know what the Bears did in that draft, but yeah. So you've got the Eagles with that massive swing taking Mahomes, and more recently, the Chiefs traded away Tyreek Hill because they could see the future and they could see that, Tyreek Hill was going to be a problem. They were going to need to pay him big. And can we replicate Tyreek Hill? No. But like they said in the Moneyball, can we replace Giambi? No, but we can replace him in the aggregate. So they could replace him and with your Hollywood Browns and your Hopkins, and the sum that they paid for those guys is a lot less than what they received in the trade from the Dolphins for Cheetah. Over to the Eagles. I don't like cliches, but let's call it what it appears to be once again. This is a superstar team I've heard the talking heads this week saying, right, and it's easy, it's not won on paper. The Super Bowl is much more won in moments and plays as they happen in that moment. But of the 22 starters, offense, defense, how many Chiefs are you honestly taking?
Including quarterback?
Yeah. The 22 starters, who are you taking?
Well, there's three that come to mind instantly. Obviously, Mahomes, Chris Jones, McDuffie.
But do you take McDuffie? So I thought McDuffie as well, but does he start over Mitchell, Slay, DeJean?
I think you got to find a way to get McDuffie in. Because I think McDuffie is more than a corner. But, to be honest, a lot of those Eagles corners are more than just cover corners as well.
Yeah.
That is tough. I think you got to, and again, even with the Eagles D line, I think you got to find room for Chris Jones.
You do absolutely have to find a space for Chris Jones.
Chris Jones next to Jalen Carter.
Oh, just don't. But so, and Joe Tooney, he only starts if he plays at guard, not if he plays at tackle.
Yeah.
But he's playing at tackle, which creates the weakness at guard where a certain Jalen Carter lines up. And what on earth? But this game is not won on paper. It's won on individual plays. I know it sounds simplistic, but I can honestly see this game go one of two ways. I think this is a repeat of the Tampa Kansas City Super Bowl, as in the D line just wrecks the game. Like they just are in Mahomes' face all the time. And let's not forget, Mahomes still made historically great plays in that Super Bowl, but it just wasn't enough. So I think the Eagles win it going away, or the Chiefs win a close one, because that's what the Chiefs do.
The Chiefs don't win blowouts. So it feels like if you're going to do anything, you want to look at the Eagles on the plus.
Eagles on the plus handicap.
Yeah, you might need to. I'm sure the spread is very close. You might have to extend, but um,
Yeah,
it's hard to see the Chiefs winning by more than 7, like in this game. Like probably less, to be honest.
it would cost you a lot though to get the Eagles at like plus 6, plus 7. It would cost a lot. I would rather like just be brave and do the Eagles to win by
Like
a
3.5.
no clear.
Oh, you mean win? As in actually? Okay,
Yeah,
okay, yep.
so Eagles minus 9.5, Eagles minus 8.5, minus 9.5, and just say if they win, they're going to crush them.
Mm,
Maybe just take a punt at that
yeah.
because yeah, I think if the Eagles do win this, then I think it could be ugly because of their running game. If they get up, then if they're up a score, what we haven't seen except in that Houston game a few years ago in the playoffs is we haven't seen somebody get up big on this Chiefs team this
Mm.
year. Big, like a couple of scores. And with the Eagles' running game, if they get up a couple of scores, then I think that's massive trouble for the
Well,
Chiefs.
well, here's a stat for you that I read today. Apparently, roughly 15 or 16 playoff games in a row, the Chiefs have not allowed a 100-yard rusher.
Yeah.
So something has to give.
Mm.
Is it going to be Saquon or is he going to get shut down?
I honestly think that the Eagles would be making a massive mistake if they don't just keep running Saquon,
Mm.
regardless of how effective it is. Just keep running Saquon because there's no next week. He is your best player. And as well with Saquon, you keep the clock moving and you keep Mahomes on the sidelines. You just don't want Mahomes to have many possessions. You just don't. He just seems to have that. Like
Don't
what?
don't do what the Ravens did against the Bills. Like, oh, the Bills have made a couple of stops, and that's all it took. Already in the first quarter, they had gone away from King Henry. I don't think the Eagles are going to do that.
No. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's disappointing as a fan of the NFL that people are hating on the Chiefs because this is not the Patriots. This is not. They do play with, yeah, they play in close games, but let's be real, they're not getting calls. Everybody gets calls. Everybody gets calls. Like the Tennessee Titans get calls. It's just nobody's watching what happens.
This isn't Miles Jack forcing a fumble, recovering it, and the referee blowing the play dead for absolutely no reason when they're up 10, about to go up 17. Like, it's not the same. It's just not the same. I get that they've had a few funky calls, like when the two Texans defenders ran into each other,
Mm,
and then suddenly it was a 15-yard like personal foul against the Texans. I get it, but over the course of the game, we and Chris Sims said it best this week. We never go back and see what calls the losing team got.
yeah. And that Texans call, yeah, it's a glaring error, but that is a glaring error in the system
Yeah,
of that you really need to change. Right, we're going to review all the 15-yard penalties. How long does
yeah.
it take to review them? There's money involved, there's gambling involved now, and you're in
They've
the
got replay assist for a reason.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, you've got coaches challenges, but when you're talking 15 yards on a penalty, just how long does it take? It really doesn't. It's 3 hours for a game. So what? Let's just get these calls right, and
Yeah,
then if that call wasn't made, then people would be more happy that they think that the Chiefs aren't getting one up. But back to the Chiefs, like, and just overall how they seem to do it. It's just they just make plays in the moments that plays are needed to be made, and they just do not make the mistakes in the moment that the other team seems to find a way to make the mistakes. You know, you go back to like they blocked the kick against Denver, and the Raiders fumbled the ball, like, and the Bills can't get a yard twice, and but when it
There's
comes,
even stuff with that though. I mean, they picked up a tendency that when Josh Allen sneaks, he sneaks to the left.
yeah,
And that saved them the 2 point conversion. I think that even played into the big fourth down stop late in the game. They just are extremely well coached. And it just seems like there's a mindset within the players, within the character of the players, that they execute what they're coached. Like no one goes rogue. They just are built to make plays.
yeah, this team with 2 weeks to prepare for the Eagles. Yeah, the coaching, they do have a definite advantage in coaching, but the Eagles have a huge advantage in terms of overall personnel. But how much weight do you give to the most important position on the field, the quarterback, and the most important person probably within a franchise in terms of the game plan, the head coach, the who's also your offensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator.
Who's been there, done it for decades. Spags has been, probably under celebrated until maybe recently, of just, he was part of the Giants. They took down the Patriots. And we've seen it in clutch moments. They make the right. Well, he knows how to set the defense up to make plays. I mean, I feel like we're seeing certain tendencies now where if it's fourth and short, you better have your eye on Trent McDuffie because they love a corner blitz. The 49ers fell victim of it. The Bills fell victim of it 2 weeks ago. There's certain things they like to do. Even on offense, that fourth and short situation, they used it in the Super Bowl, 4th and 1 in overtime. Mahomes rolls out to the right and he's got options. Does he throw it in the flat to the running back? Does he throw it to Kelsey on a hitch? Or does he just take off himself? They beat the Bills in big moments with that exact same concept 3 or 4 times, all in the second half. So
Yeah.
there are things that I think teams can pick up. It's very difficult to do because, as Fred Warner said today, he said when he watches film of Mahomes, the word that he uses to describe him is unorthodox, where you in one look, he does one thing. They give you the same look and he plays it completely differently. So I get it. It's not as easy as I'm laying out. But there are certain tendencies, it seems, with the Chiefs in critical moments.
What way are you thinking? Because what way are you thinking to pick this game? Because I'm completely conflicted between everything that I see in terms of players and then everything that I've seen over years in terms of Mahomes and Andy Reid.
It
Just
really is. It's like a talent. Like Eagles have the better talent, right?
yeah.
The Chiefs have the better quarterback and the better coaching. So,
But that Chiefs stat is quite real. They haven't allowed a 100-yard rusher.
but have they? Who have they come up against where we feel they are coming up against the elite of the elite. You could say the 49ers, but
You were banged up.
banged up.
You
The
back
first
up.
time it was Mostert, who was, he's good, but as I keep saying with the 49ers, it's not an elite offensive line. This is like historic level offensive line play.
So, sorry, when's the how long is this streak of 100-yard rushes?
It's got to be going like a few years because we're only looking at playoff games. So
Okay, right. Not
15, we're looking at like 5 years.
but in the regular season, have they been gashed by the run? The Chiefs.
This year, who have they played? There's no one in their division that you really worry about rushing wise. I know the Chargers are
Yeah.
quite run heavy, but they played the Ravens at a good time. Week 1, they hadn't integrated King Henry yet.
I haven't got my laptop on me.
I feel like last year when they lost to the Eagles at Arrowhead, I feel like Swift had a big game.
Okay.
So, and that's the other thing with the Chiefs. They're very well coached, but where do you feel their defense is this year versus last year? Because I feel like they were really, really good last year.
Yeah.
And this year, I think they're good. Like, don't get me wrong, they're very good. But I don't think they're quite as good as last year.
No, I don't think their defense is incredible this year. They've lost one of the corners, and yeah, they've got back the other starting corner, but they can't do what they did last year with the two corners.
Yeah.
Because it's just the one. And
that's a problem against this team. Because what do you do? Do you put your best corner on AJ Brown, or do you take the Bill Belichick route? We're going to double your best guy, AJ Brown, but we're going to do it with corner 2 and corner 3, and we're going to put our best corner on your number 2 guy.
I think that they're going to leave 3 men because they're going to try to stop the run. I think they'll disguise it a lot. I don't think it's going to look like 8 men are there and the corners are just on their own man-to-man outside. But I think ultimately that's what it's going to be until they've tried their best to get the Eagles to not abandon the run, but just not kill them with the run.
It's one of those where it's like, if we lose this game and Jalen Hurts is thrown for 300 yards,
fair enough, yeah,
they can live with it. But if they lose the game and it's because Saquon Barkley has gone for 200 yards plus 2-3 touchdowns, they'll be kicking themselves. And I just don't think that they're going to let that happen. They might lose the game, but I don't think it'll be that way.
I'm just thinking now that if I'm the Eagles, then I'm going to run a heck of a lot of read options, and Jalen Hurts is going to keep it because now he'll be healthy, and the threat of Saquon is so severe that I'm keeping the ball with Jalen Hurts. And
you want one early as well, because there's going to be massive emphasis on set the tone with Saquon early. So you sneak a little read option where they're honed in on him. All it takes is like one Hurts 30-40 yard run just to create that doubt, that imbalance of okay, we got to do more than stopping Saquon here.
I've got to stay here to defend that. I can't commit inside. I can't. And then I think that's the bet that I would go. Whatever Jalen Hurts rushing yards is, look at that to be over, just because of the way that the Chiefs are going to have to be aggressive to try and stop Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley's rushing numbers and scrimmage numbers are going to be stupid now. I know he's a superstar and it's quite likely he'll hit, but they're going to be stupid, especially with the Super Bowl where they know they're going to take the money anyway. So they don't have to offer you a competitive number. They'll just go, people are going to take it anyway. And they're not going to take the under, they're going to take the over. So I might as well make it as likely as possible for it not to hit because I'm going to take the money. It's a guarantee.
Yeah.
So
Here's 130 again. I mean, it's become the norm, hasn't it? Saquon Barkley total scrimmage, just 125, 133.
yeah. He didn't hit though, did he? He didn't hit last week.
He didn't. I think he got to 120. They took him out of the game, and this I can't remember his name, but this third choice running back
Shipley.
He had two rushes for like 75 yards.
White boy, wasn't it? Yeah, that's a terrorize when it's the third stringers in the title game of your conference. You're down to third stringers.
But you know what? Like, I think obviously everyone's looking at that matchup. Like, it feels like the key to the game. Saquon Barkley, this offensive line, can they literally just steamroll the Chiefs? But I think we all, equal emphasis is on the other side because this Eagles defense, who is number one, by the way, this year, they are, and you've said it for weeks now, they are an awesome unit. They have got, I mean, they're a young group and they're already number one. Yep. So these guys aren't anywhere near their prime, most of them. Like Jalen Carter, what is this, year 2? Maybe year 3?
It's year 2.
He is scary great for year 2. And he's not alone.
Jalen Carter, who was, he had character concerns coming out of the draft. I think the story was that he had to make bail or something during the combine. Something to do with jail during the combine. But he was the most talented guy in that draft. Defensive guy in that draft. And the Eagles got him that low in the draft. And
if he goes to a bad organization, who knows? Maybe we're not even talking about him anymore. But he lands at a great organization who know how to get the best out of players like this, get them back on side, get them motivated, focused, whatever it is. This guy is one of the best defensive players in the league already.
Yeah, and they force a lot of turnovers, this defense. Like they're aggressive. They'll try and punch the ball from you. They'll do the old like gang tackle, like one of us will stand you up and the other one's he's gonna punch the ball out. He's gonna rip the ball out. They are just really aggressive, and there's a lot of great players on this defense on every single level. Jalen Carter in
every level,
Stackport, and then this the guy Noah Smith on the outside. He's
Nolan Smith, but they lost Nakobe Dean, who like another high energy player. So they're just there's talent everywhere.
Yeah. And their coach now, I'm not a huge fan of Fangio, but he does set the base as in we're not going to get beat deep. We'll limit big plays. But I even think if you had a more aggressive defensive coordinator, this defense could be taken to another level just because if they blitzed even more. But I know they don't need to blitz more just because the guys that they've had. But
D'Amico Ryans,
he
blends blitzes in. Like he's not one of these guys that's going to blitz every down, but it's like we'll let the talent speak for itself. But there'll be a few nuggets where we pressure the quarterback a bit more as well.
Yeah, I mean, imagine Spagnuolo coaching this. because of what you can do with them, because they are so versatile, the speed that they have, the physicality that they have, the guys on the back end, the linebackers and the corners and the safeties, like how they can cover multiple guys. I think that if this was 2 or 3 years ago, I think that Kelsey could have a big game, because I think a weakness could be, I'm not saying it is, but it could be the Eagles' safeties and the fact that they're not great in coverage. They're great at hitting, they're great at delivering tackles, but are they great in coverage? I don't know. I'm not. I think that that's the weakness. And I don't think it's a big weakness, but I think if you're going to pick anything on this Eagles defense, it would be, I'm looking at Blankenship and Gardner Johnson. Yeah, CJ can hit. Can he cover? I don't know. And Blankenship, I think, is an average at best safety. And you're going against Travis Kelce, but you're going against nearly retired Travis Kelce. So will it matter?
And who else is there to?
But it's the Chiefs with Andy Reid, so he knows that if you're going to get at this Eagles, if you're going to get at the Eagles, then those are the guys that I'm trying to make the most of. It would be the safeties, because Zach Ball run and he can cover. He's got speed, but the safeties, yeah, I'd look there.
They gave up 0 20-plus yard plays in the NFC Championship, but it's not really what the Chiefs are looking for anyway. That's where it's like it balances out a bit. The Chiefs don't really look for the explosive all that often now.
Oh, this is 2 weeks to prepare Chiefs. They've been holding back.
Ooh. It is the Super Bowl. That's the thing.
It is.
The Andy Reid vault of plays. What is going to come out in this game?
It is. The regular season is just a preparation for the playoffs. And were they tested? Yeah, they were tested in the playoffs, but did they come up with anything amazingly special? Yeah. We only really saw one really, really, really different play concept from the Chiefs, and that was that Mahomes rollout.
So they used multiple times.
So they didn't need to do anything else.
Yeah. That's the beauty of them. If it's working for them, go back to the well. We're not going to give too much away until you make us do that.
And both teams know they're not going to be. You would think that they're both not going to be beaten by the moment, because they're young. Well, especially the Eagles, but it's not going to be too big a moment. It's okay. We're used to being in big games. We're a big team, and the Eagles team, especially on defense, they're young, but they've been in national championships. These are a heck of a lot of players from Georgia and Alabama. These guys have played in national championships, and this is just an extension of that. There's no coincidence. Look at where these guys are drafted from.
I mean, none more so than their quarterback. I mean, I know I've been probably more critical than the average on Jalen Hurts, but he's not going to be fazed by the game, because he's played in national championship after national championship. This is his second Super Bowl. He played great in that first one overall.
He did.
Just the one turnover that, the fumble that resulted in a recovery and a touchdown. Outside of that, he was as good as he could have been.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know where to go with this. Like,
I'm
I,
going to I'm going to give my game pick that I this game to me comes down to do you go with logic or do you go with almost magic? Logic says Philadelphia. Everything headwise says Philadelphia. But the magic of Mahomes, his worst season is losing in the AFC title game. His worst season. This is historically special from a quarterback. We've never seen this before. Don't hate on the Chiefs. It's not their fault, right? But I just think that the Eagles will find a way to win this game. And I think they win it going away. I think they win it by a score. Just the talent discrepancy is real. And yeah, I'm just going to say that the Eagles' defensive line is going to wreck the game. Jalen Carter is going to wreck the game. And you can't coach for that. You can't coach and scheme away from just the chaos of the Eagles' defensive line coming at you. So I say that the Eagles win, and I'm going to be brave. I'm going to say that the Eagles win by 10.